All right, hello everyone. So today we are going to be going through some database tips and tricks that you guys can utilize as you're starting to research for your upcoming essay. The first thing that you always want to do is whenever we are diving into researching with the databases, you always want to start by brainstorming some key terms that you can use when searching the databases. The thing here that you need to remember is that the databases, when we're searching them, they do not function the same way as, like, let's say a basic Google search or even just doing, some research with artificial intelligence. The databases have a very specific algorithm that you need to know how to kind of like utilize and hone to the best of your abilities so that you're getting the search results that you need. Another thing to keep in mind with the databases is that they are not as easy to use as, say, Google, but the reason that we utilize them is because we know all of the information coming from the databases is trustworthy and reliable and accurate pieces of information. So that's why your teachers often will prefer that you find sources only from the databases. So when we brainstorm key ideas for the databases, what that helps us do is it gives us a starting point for searching in the database. So if I have some key terms that I can search for, what that tells the database is, all right, here are the things that I'm looking for every article to contain that you're pulling up for me. For instance, like if I were to go Google and let's say I'm, researching a paper about how artificial intelligence has impacted the chiropractic business, I would literally just go and type that into Google. How has artificial intelligence impacted chiropractors? You can't do that in databases. You will not get the results that you're looking for, or you'll get millions of results. So by utilizing key terms, like if that's my topic, some of my key terms could be artificial intelligence, chiropractor, clinical trials, studies, effects, stuff like that. So stuff related to my general topic or thesis. You want to come up with at minimum 5 key terms, but honestly, the more that you can come up with, the better you're going to be able to search the databases. Now, coming up with these key terms is not always easy. Sometimes it's really challenging, especially if you have a very specific topic. So one thing that you guys can do that I would challenge you is to use AI to help you kind of come up with these topics and to also help refine your topic ideas for your essay. However, when we're working with AI, there are a few things that you want to keep in mind to really help make sure you're getting the results that you want from the AI machine. The first thing is to establish context for what you're asking the AI to do. So, for example, like if I'm searching on AI, I would want to say, like if I'm working on a research paper, I would want to tell the AI machine, okay, here's what we're doing. Like, we're writing a research essay. Here's what the essay has to be about. Here's the topic that I'm thinking of writing the essay about. Any details that you can give it. So you want to list the who and the what. You could also list, you are a high school sophomore in an English class working on this kind of essay for this purpose. And then you want to establish the what, which would be the exact topic that you're focusing on. You also want to be as specific as possible. So the more details that you can give the AI machine, the better output you're going to get from it. And you also want to define the output. So you want to explain exactly what you want the AI to do for you. What do you want it to produce? So for example, if you're wanting it to produce some key terms for you, you would want to tell it that. So I want you, here's what we're doing. Here's who you're pretending to be. Here's exactly what I want you to output. Like, I want you to produce 10 key terms that could be used when searching, scholastic academic databases. So whenever you're using AI, these are the things that you really want to make sure you're doing with every single prompt that you're putting into the AI. Now, there are a few exceptions to this rule. For instance, if your teacher is using school AI, all of this is already done for you from the teacher side. So school AI is a little bit easier to use because of that fact. But if you're using sites like Perplexity or Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, any of those general AI machines, you're going to want to make sure you're doing this every time you're doing an AI search or using AI to help you with a project. So that would be a great resource for you guys to use as you're kind of preparing for this essay, just to help with the brainstorming process, finding some key terms that can help you with the databases. So some other things that'll help you when you're searching the databases are these things called Boolean operators. And I'm just going to move myself here because I'm going to get in my own way. So there are these like short words that are called Boolean operators that we can use when we're utilizing our key terms in the databases. So you use them in conjunction with your key terms. And all these short words do is they basically give commands to the database to help you either limit your search and narrow your search or expand your search. Now, for the purposes of, high school English classes, we're typically going to want to limit our search. So there is one Boolean operator I'm going to show you that you're probably never going to use, or if you do, it'll be way, way in the future when you are in a very specific career. So the first Boolean operator is the word not, okay? It's as simple as that. Not is one of our limiters, so it's going to limit our search. Basically what it tells the database is, all right, hey database, I only want you to search this term, not this term. So it kind of looks like this. It's like if you, let's see if I can get a little pen here. Actually, I just want the highlighter. Okay, perfect. If you, let's say you're searching the word puppy, but you want to make sure that you're not searching anything about kittens. You could say puppy, not kitten. Now, any articles that have both the words puppy and kitten in them will not show up in your research. So that's a way where if you know there are certain words that crop up often with some of the terms you're looking for, but they have nothing to do with what you're searching for, you can use the not to eliminate those. The next Boolean operator is OR. Now the OR operator is our expander, so this is going to expand your search. So like I said, you're probably never going to use this, but I just want you to be aware of it because it's one of the three that you got to know. So this one says, okay, if I'm searching puppy or kitten, I'm going to see articles that have the word puppy, that have both the word puppy and kitten, and that just have the word kitten. So you can see how this could really expand your search and give you stuff that maybe you don't want stuff about. Like if you're writing an essay about puppies, you're not going to want information about kittens. The last Boolean operator, and the one that is my personal favorite, I absolutely love this one, I use it every single time I'm searching the databases, is the word and. This is a super limiter. So this is really going to help you narrow down your search results, because what it tells the database is it says, hey database, I want articles that have both the word puppy and the word kitten. So this is a way that you can combine your key terms to really help narrow down those search results that you're getting from the databases. And like I said, I use the word and all the time. So all that you have to do, you guys, when you're utilizing these is you put them in between your key terms that you're searching. And they don't have to be capitalized. Capitalization plays no factor into how they function. You just have to type the word, and you can have a whole string of them. So if I'm doing my chiropractor artificial intelligence thing, I could say chiropractor and artificial intelligence and trials and I could go on and on and on. Or I could throw different ones in there. I could say chiropractor, not massage therapist, and blah blah blah. So yeah, there's a lot of fun ways that you can kind of play with these different Boolean operators. The next tip that I'm going to talk to you guys about are different symbols that you'll want to know how to utilize when you're searching with the databases. So the first one is this asterisk. That's that little star looking symbol. What the asterisk does is you put it at the end of a group of letters, and it will fill in the end of the word for you, like all possible endings of the word. So for example, if I put chiro with an asterisk, that is going to tell the database to search all possible endings of the word chiro, like chiropractor, chiropractic, chiropractors, etc., right? There might be other endings that I don't even know about that it would search automatically for me because I have this asterisk here at the end of the word. The next symbol are quotation marks. So we use quotation marks when we have two or more words that we want the database to search for as like one term. So for example, artificial intelligence is more than one word. So we would want to put that in quotation marks, and what that tells the database is, hey, database, I want to see this exact phrase somewhere in the articles that you're pulling up for me. Because otherwise, if you just put artificial intelligence without these quotation marks, it might search them as separate words, not as like one term. It might have artificial somewhere in the article and then intelligence somewhere else, and not necessarily be referring to the artificial intelligence that we're actually talking about. The last symbol that you guys are going to want to be familiar with are parentheses. So parentheses is kind of like when we're talking about math and the order of operations, right? We know that when we're using the order of operations in math, everything in parentheses is what we solve for first. Well, we're basically building an equation for this database, telling it how we want it to search and what we want it to search for. So we can also use parentheses in our search to tell it, hey, database, search the stuff in parentheses first, and then you can do all the other stuff outside of it. So for example, if I were to type this in my search bar, what the database would read this as is it would look for, okay, any word that has Cairo at the start of it, and then all possible endings, and the word artificial intelligence. All of that has to be in the article first, and then from there, it's going to eliminate any articles that have the word trial or trials, or whatever other possible endings there are for trial. And you can again continue to build this longer and longer. Now just keep in mind, there is a way to build it too long. You could build this so complicated and long enough that you get 0 results. And obviously that's not what we're looking for. We're kind of looking for that sweet spot where we have maybe, like a couple dozen searches. If you have a really popular topic, maybe you'll have a couple hundred, but we want to try to narrow this absolutely as far as we can, because we don't want to sift through thousands of articles. Nobody has time for that, right? So this is a way that you can kind of help hone and narrow your database searches. Now, where the key terms come into play, obviously, these are key terms that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. If these key terms are not working for me, what you guys can do is you can swap out your key terms. So maybe trial's not getting me the results that I want. Maybe I need to swap that out with something else, or try a different Boolean operator, or maybe I try AI instead of artificial intelligence. So when you have a list of key terms, you have a lot of components for your equation to kind of work with and play around with. And it does take playing around. But again, you can go back and use AI to help you. So if you tell the AI, okay, here's what we're doing, here's the essay we're working on, here's where we're working with the databases, here are the key terms I'm working with, give me some Boolean operator and symbol equations that I can use when searching for this information in the databases. And hopefully AI will be able to kind of help you out and generate that for you. Again, don't forget, whenever we're working with AI, we got to keep that human in the loop. So always make sure you're double checking what it outputs. Make sure it's not changing words on you or anything like that, or if it is, that it's still relevant to what you're searching for. Now, we're going to actually explore the databases. So if you guys would all take a second and go to this website on your Chromebook, library.sd.gov. This is where we're going to access the databases. We are extremely fortunate here in the state of South Dakota because we get access to a bunch of databases for free through our library systems. So we're going to access them this way. So if you need more time with this, go ahead and pause the video, but I'm going to go ahead and exit out. And then I will open a new tab and we will go to library.sd.gov together, if my computer wants to work. All right. Now, once you get to library.sd.gov, you might get like a little pop-up box that asks you, allow website to know your location. You have to allow it because the website has to know that you're actually in South Dakota in order for you to be able to access the databases. So if you travel outside of the state, just know that you will lose access to these databases. You actually have to be in the state in order to access them. This happened to a student of mine a few years back. He was working remotely from Texas during COVID and wasn't able to access the databases, and it was a whole thing. So once you're here, electronic resources at the top of the page. You can also access it through the quick links on the side. Either way, it'll take you to the same spot. and then you will see all of the databases that we have access to. And you guys can kind of start scrolling through them if you want, take a look at what's available. There's a lot, right? And it's a little overwhelming. So I'm going to help you guys out. Up here at the top, you can obviously search for high school appropriate databases. Any that are labeled high school or academic are going to be appropriate for us to utilize at this grade level. But I also have two favorites that I use all the time. The first one is Academic Search Premier. This is a huge compilation of EBSCOhost, if you've ever worked with EBSCOhost. So that's a really great site that will have tons of resources for you guys. The other one that's my personal favorite is ProQuest, and we're going to go to that one together right now. So you can either scroll all the way down to the P's, or this little search box right above the black bar, you can just type ProQuest and it will narrow it down for you. Now we're going to go to the ProQuest Research Library is the one that we want to go to. So if you will all go ahead and click on that with me, it will take us to a database that looks something like this. And the reason that I like ProQuest better than Academic Search Premier is literally because it's pretty. Like, I just think that the user face, like the interface that we have as users that we're working with, is so much easier to use. It's a lot more user friendly to me, easier to navigate. So that's purely why I prefer ProQuest. But there is also another benefit to ProQuest where it does have a few more publications that it draws from than Academic Search Premier. So you might actually get more from ProQuest, but you might not. It all depends on your topic. So if you're not finding stuff here, try Academic Search Premier or one of the other dozens of databases that you have access to. Okay, so we're going to start with just a basic search on my topic, and we're just going to type in chiropractor just to start with. Okay, we're not going to do anything fancy. We're just going to type in one word to begin, and it would help if I spelled it right. Let me spell it right. Okay, chiropractor. There we go. Now we're going to search that again, and I should get quite a few results, way more than one if I spell it right. Okay, so I got 16,035 results. Yours might be a little bit different than me, and that is one lesson to know about the databases, is just kind of depending on the time of day or the day itself that you're searching, results are going to change. So it's really important that if you find an article that you think you're going to use or that you like, you save it. And I will show you how to save it in a minute, but I will tell you right now, you do not save it just with the URL. That is not a good way to access your articles later, because what happens is, since the databases are constantly updating and changing, those URLs break all the time and you can lose access to the article that you have. Okay, so whenever we're searching, one of the first things that we want to do, and you may have seen this on the home page, but it's also on this page, is we want to limit to full text. So go ahead and click that full text box on the left-hand side, and we're going to watch as my results drop by about 2,000 results. Now what that does is it only pulls up full text, like sources that we have access to the entire article. There are a lot of sources on here where we have access to what's called the abstract of the article, which is essentially just a summary of the information. So we always want to make sure we're limiting to full text so that we get the full articles. If you don't do that, you might end up kicking yourself later, because we just don't have access to all of the articles that the database references. So we want to make sure we're limiting that. Now, there are a couple of other things we can do to limit our search before we even start playing around with our key terms or using symbols or Boolean operators or anything like that. So if you, again, look on that left side toolbar and scroll down a little bit, you'll notice a publication date section. Now, when we're doing research, especially modern research, we really want to be cautious about the date that our information was published, especially if you're doing anything with artificial intelligence. Really, artificial intelligence has changed so much, even within the past 5 years. You don't want to be going further back than that. And I would say with artificial intelligence, even like the last 3 years. But we'll say 5 years. 10 years is usually the max amount of time that you want to go back. So you can either slide this or you can enter a date range. I'm just going to slide this. So I'm going from 2020 all the way up to the present, and then you'll have to click update. and it'll update those results for you. So you notice how many articles I cut out just by limiting my results to the last, 5 years, 6-ish years. So I went from over 14,000 down to 2,100. So we're doing really well, but still 2,100 is a lot to get through. So we can continue to narrow this search by now employing some of our symbols, our Boolean operators, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do, and what I would encourage you to do, is I'm going to try using an asterisk. So I'm going to do Cairo with an asterisk. Now I want you to think before I hit enter, what do you think is going to happen when I hit enter? Am I going to get less results or more results? Let's see. Okay, so as you guys can see, when we added that asterisk to the end, it actually expanded our search results. And the reason why is because we were going from one word, chiropractor, to now a bunch of different words. And you can see just looking here, like it also searches chiron. Okay, so that must have been an experiment that was done. Chiron my day, which I have no idea what that is. So a lot of things that aren't relevant to what we're looking for. So it honestly might be better for us to just go back to chiropractor and then add the words that we need. But let's try kind of limiting our results a little bit more. We'll do chiropractor, and I'm going to try artificial intelligence in quotation marks, and spelling does matter as we saw earlier, and we'll see what happens to our results. So now we went down to 274, which is really, really good. And so again, if I continued to kind of limit this, I would get less and less. And of course, if I limit it too far, I will end up at 0. But I want to show you guys one other way that you can kind of use the database to work for you, so you can work smarter instead of harder. So again, we're going to be looking at this left-hand toolbar. If you scroll down past the publication date, you're going to see all of these drop-down menus. Now, some of these aren't really relevant to what we're doing, but the one that is going to be super helpful for you guys is this subject drop-down menu. So if you open that and expand it, what this drop-down does is it takes your current search and all of the articles that are currently pulled up in your search, and it further limits them based on the subject that they're talking about. So it's basically like it's coming up for more key terms for you to help you further narrow down that search result. So if you hit more, you can see all of them that it comes up with, and you can choose which ones to include or exclude, kind of just depending on exactly what it is you're searching for. So this is a great way too that you can kind of help limit your search results just by using the tools the database provides for you. And you might come up with more key terms when you're looking at the subject area that you hadn't thought of and the AI hadn't thought of. Okay, a couple more things I want to show you guys. So I just want you to click on an article. Does not matter which article it is, you can click on any of them. So here again, I have the abstract at the top of my article. You might not see one at the top of yours, but if you do have an abstract, this is a great way to just kind of look at the article generally to make sure that it's of a topic or subject matter that is going to work for your essay before you spend the time reading the entire thing. Also bear in mind that you might not have the article posted here. You might have to open the PDF of it, which should be linked either at the top, or if you're on Academic Search Premier, it's usually off on the side menu where you have to open the full text. So just bear that in mind as well. Okay, I'm going to move myself one more time here because we're going to be looking at these tools right here. So obviously, when you're going to cite this information, you have all of the information that you need to cite this article listed here for you. But to save you some time in the long run, there is a cite button on every database that you can click. So if you just click the cite button, you'll have to select the type of citation that you're doing. So obviously we use MLA here at this school. So you would click the drop down and scroll down to MLA. Now, you're going to notice that there is a lot of choices. So the MLA 9th title casing is going to be the choice that is closest to what we use here at O'Gorman High School. So you can click on that, and then this I would recommend copying and pasting into a running Google Doc for your works cited. You can always adjust it later before you turn in your final essay, and you will have to. For instance, we need the date of access at the end of all of our citations when we're accessing information online, so that'll be something you have to add, and you'll just want to make sure that you adjust them per the teacher's criteria. before you finalize your essay or anything like that. So I would always recommend, just copying and pasting the link for any sources you find that you think are going to work for your essay for that citation. Remember, don't copy and paste this URL because that's not a good way to save the information. However, the best way for you to save the information is as follows. If you hit the All Options button, you are going to see a cloud saving option and a Google Drive button. When you click that, what this will do is it will prompt you to link with your Google Drive account. So I will link with mine here. So make sure you link it with your school account. It might take 2 clicks to get it to go through. You can allow this because we know that this is a trusted site. And then what it will do is it will create a ProQuest folder in your Google Drive, and it will automatically save this document to your Google Drive. So if I hit on my Google Drive here, and I got to make sure I'm in the right Google Drive. Sorry, I have a lot of different accounts here, so let me get to my school Google Drive. And then if I go to my drive over here, I should see, it loads in my drive, I'm going to see a ProQuest folder right there. Okay, and then if I click on that ProQuest folder, within that ProQuest folder, I should see the article I just saved. And obviously you can see I've done this before because I have other articles saved from when I do this. Now, I always recommend going, before you move on and continue your search, always go and double check that it's saved correctly. This one looks really good. It looks like it's saved correctly. Some of them will not. Okay, some of them don't save well when you click that Google Drive button. So then if that happens to you, what you can do is you can just highlight the whole thing and then copy and paste it into a Google Doc. But you want to make sure you save it one of those 2 ways, either with the Google Drive button or copying and pasting it into a Google Doc and saving it that way, because like I said, this link is going to break and then you won't be able to access this article again. So always make sure you save it and get that citation information while you're on it so that you're helping your future self out a little bit. So that, my friends, is the basics of how we can kind of narrow our search results on different databases. If you need extra one-on-one help, feel free to sign up for a writing workshop time by visiting the library Google Classroom page, or you can always stop by if you have a quick question that you want to ask. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Best of luck on your research.